Hi, I'm Levi Title, your host for this week's KOTF Radio. What does KOTF Radio stand for? It stands for Keepers of the Faith. We chose this name because we feel it's everyone's responsibility to keep the faith of Jesus Christ and to testify of His faithfulness. This week on KOTF Radio, we will finish our two-part love story. Last week we heard how Tanya Street found herself in the middle of human sex trafficking. This week we will hear more about how her journey of a broken heart, broken home, and a broken life finally brought her back to faith in Jesus Christ. We will suggest parental guidance for our young listeners, but first, here's Keepers of the Faith Quartet with Please Come Down to Me.
I know that I'm not worthy to call upon your name. And all my life I've been a sinner, and for that I am ashamed. But I heard that you will listen, so I'm giving you my plea. I'm too unworthy, Lord, to come to you. Could you please come down to me? I know that there are others who can offer more than I promise you I'll understand if for me you had no time. I think I just hit bottom, and I'm looking up to see. I'm too unworthy, Lord, to come to you. Could you please come down to me? I guess I must be reaping from the seeds that I have sown. Oh Lord, you owe me nothing. We haven't spoken for so long. Oh, but if you could spare some mercy, Lord, I pledge my life to Thee. I'm too unworthy, Lord, to come to you. Could you please come down to me? I know that there are others who can offer more than I promise you I'd understand if for me you had no time. I think I just hit bottom, and I'm looking up to see. I'm too unworthy, Lord, to come to you. Could you please come down to me? Oh Lord, I think I just hit bottom, and I'm looking up to see. I'm too unworthy, Lord, to come to you. Could you please come down, down, come down to me?
And of course, Tanya Street joining us this week for part 2 of her true life love story. And of course, for those of you just joining us, Tanya Street is a survivor of human sex trafficking and is now a licensed minister, a sought-after public speaker, and also she is in love with Jesus, and Christ has done so much healing in her. And Tanya, thank you so much for joining us this last couple of weeks. So Tanya, those just joining us, we're going to start the story at the point where you said yes to the person who was going to end up being your trafficker. Up to this point, he had shown you incredible love. He had shown you incredible, or at least it seemed like genuine concern, genuine love for 4 months. And then he leads you into this trap to ask you, will you go out and start living this lifestyle for me? And let's pick up right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and after I gave him my yes and my conditions, his whole demeanor changed. I mean, because he was very matter of fact, and he just became very, oh, that's my girl. I knew you would do it. I knew I could count on you. He affirms me again and brings me back to what I was looking for. Looking back on it, I could say, oh, well, that was a big red flag if there weren't just a few others, where, he just literally went from being one way to another. And so, there he was. He was happy. He came to pick me up, and we, celebrated. He was just, couldn't wait to introduce me to the rest of the family. And, and we did. And, I will tell you that when he brought me in to into the rest of the family, there was a true queen, a true bottom girl, the one that's loyal to him. And, she was there and she played the part as well. She welcomed me in as, not just a new girl, but, this girl who could, who could be our queen, and, there was clothes and makeup and all kinds of stuff. It was just, a time of girls being together and it felt like family at first, and so that happened for about 2 years. And I really like to say this because, this really is a culture when we look at our world today. And, we look at, even we take the United States and break it into parts, we can say the North and the South, their cultures are totally different. When we look at the lifestyle of human trafficking victims and what they are, just the life of it, what their daily, day-to-day life, it is a culture. And it's a culture so much that it's been just really embedded into our society. When we look at media and all of that, I mean, it just all takes this in and it glamorizes, what a girl could be. Sexy, beautiful, perfect shape and sizes and color. And, and so, it was about that at first. It was about just, being that way with this new family. And so, as we're going on, I'm learning the goal is to break her or him, and in order to really get them to do whatever you want them to do. And so that's what happened to me. I like to tell people, I don't have to tell you the gory details of how he beat me and this or that, but I will tell you that the goal was to break, and he did whatever he needed to do that.
Tanya, you've referred to the culture around prostitution and just the culture that you saw. How, you made a really important point, or at least a question that went through your mind when you were first looking at entering into this lifestyle, and that is, you said, maybe I've missed something. Maybe this is female empowerment now. And I think about how in the media a lot of times sexuality is portrayed. This is sexuality outside of marriage. Sexuality is oftentimes portrayed as a form of empowerment for women. In your personal experience, was that the case?
Right. Well, no, Kevin. We have been taught that it's someone else's job to meet my desires, my own desires, like that's someone else's job. to do that for me. You see what I'm saying? You know, because media, they don't tell the whole story. They just show us that, free sex is empowering. But I personally think it's just stopping ourselves short from our true passions and desires for life. Kevin, I really believe that sex gives us a grid for what it feels like to enjoy life, passions, and purposes that are beyond just having sex. I mean, we really stop ourselves short and think that this is all there is to life when, a person's true desires and purpose, it's still waiting for them.
Well, aloha from Keepers of the Faith Ministry, KOTF Radio. We're so thankful that you're joining us today to listen to this story, this true love story of heartbreak, of despair, but of most importance, the love that Christ can bring into our hearts. Anyways, we would just want to take this time during the program to just encourage you to reach out. We would absolutely love to hear from you. We love when we hear from our listeners. You can email us at kotfradio@gmail.com, kotfradio@gmail.com. That's G as in golf, gmail.com. Or send us a letter through regular post at 8402 175th Street, Court East, Puyallup, Washington, 98375. Again, that's 8402 175th Street, Court East, Puyallup, Washington. Puyallup spelled Puyallup, Washington, State of Washington, 98375. We'd love to hear from you. Prayer requests, praise reports, or just even your personal story of how Christ has been an encouragement to you during your darkest times. We'd absolutely love to hear from you. We'll hear closing remarks from Tanya Street and this true-to-life love story right after this.
Faith Fest 2016 is almost here. Come out for faith-inspiring music, great fellowship, and powerful worship, all set to the backdrop of Washington State's breathtaking landmark, Mount Rainier. Faith Fest 2016 is coming to Cascades Camp and Conference Center July 29th through to the 31st, featuring artists such as Keepers of the Faith, Freedom Singers,
over death triumphant,
Canada's Double Portion, Day 3 Trio, and the Arena Family. Come out for a great time of fellowship, worship, and of course, the breathtaking beauty of Mount Rainier. With activities for all ages, it's the perfect family getaway. Faith Fest 2016 coming to the Cascades Camp and Conference Center July 29th through the 31st. On-location RV sites and lodging is available, but going fast. Go to keepersofthefaithministry.com. That's keepersofthefaithministry.com for registration or call 253-682-7718. That's 253-682-7718.
I am Job, lying helpless, suffering lost but not hopeless. I am David, crying mercy, Lord, on me. I am Elijah in a cave, dreading the light of day. I am Daniel, humbly bound, faithfully. I am Paul in a prison, lifting praise to heaven. I am John, cast out but not down. I am Moses, seeking shelter in the cleft of the rock. Here I am, Lord, hide hide me again. I finally made it to the cleft of the rock. I am glad, for I could no longer stand. Many times I will struggle to reach that old rock, but he will hide me again and again. Now I'm safe from the stranger, safe from the danger that will try to do me great harm. I am wrapped up and warm in the love of my master. I am resting while I lean on his arm. So I'll stay a little longer until I am stronger, when all of my healing is done. The ravens will feed me, and his hands will keep me and hide me till I can go. I finally made it to the cleft of the rock. I am glad, for I could no longer stand. Many times I will struggle to reach that old rock, but he will hide me again and again. He hided my soul in the cleft of the rock, that shadows a dry, thirsty land. He hided my life in the depths of his love, and he will hide me again and again and again.
Tanya, there's no doubt people listening who have experienced sexual abuse, physical abuse, either in the past, maybe presently going on. What would be some words of encouragement that you would offer to them?
You know, I didn't realize that I was a victim. And that's what happens to a lot of people who find themselves in domestic abuse. They're looking for love or someone to fulfill a desire for them, you know, someone else to do this or to help us meet a desire. And so in looking for that, I didn't realize that I was actually a victim. I was being exploited. In my particular story, while I was out there working for my pimp, there came a time where I, almost about 2 years, I was actually rescued from a police officer. And that was just tremendous and divine all in itself. It's a great end to my story in that part. But it took years for me to understand that I was a victim. I had such a sense of worthlessness and, you know, I didn't feel valued and loved and all of that. So I had to actually begin to believe in who God saw me to be. I began to partner with those beliefs, you know, what he thought about me and what he already said about me, because I'm already created. And so I was created for a purpose. And so I began to come alongside of God's thoughts about me in spite of the shame, in spite of the low self-esteem and, all that I'd gone through. In spite of all of that, I did find a hope that there could be something more. And the fact that I knew that God was my biggest fan and he was hoping for something that I wasn't even hoping for really intrigued me to look at my situation or who I am through his eyes and who he created me to be.
One thing that you mentioned that I really want you to just elaborate on just for a moment, and that is it's really important for us to have patience with ourselves, isn't it? I mean, we can give ourselves wholly to the Lord, give our lives to him, and there's certain things that he may heal right away. But there's other things in our life, in the way that we think, in the way that we react to circumstances, that may take weeks, months, years for us to heal from.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head when you said process. It really is about that. It's knowing that everything is a process. There's a process involved. And because we're all different, everyone's process will look different. So although I'm telling you, this is my story, everyone has a story that's unique to themselves. And so their process will be different. And I think sometimes we compare ourselves to each other so much and forget that we are all uniquely created by God. And with that uniqueness, our healing would be just as unique and special. And God knows what each of us needs. And he is really able to meet those needs in many different ways. I really encourage people to go to counseling and, find a counselor that is specifically trained in the area where they've been traumatized. And if it doesn't feel right with that counselor, get another one. It's okay. And just to keep looking for those open doors and those open opportunities to have people come into your life that will help you grow. And if you're growing, the people in your life are helping you grow. If they're not helping you grow, then you can close that chapter in the book and say thank you for, the part you played in my book or in my chapter, but I'm going to the next chapter because I want to continue to grow. I do believe that God doesn't just sit idle and does nothing. I believe he provides you opportunities. He's a provider, and he does meet you where you are.
Tanya, thank you so much again for joining us for these couple of weeks. And any closing thoughts before we go?
I would just say, you matter. Like anyone who is listening, you matter, and you're not here by just a mistake. And that's just true. People make you feel that way, that, people make you feel like, your life isn't important. They make you feel like you have to compare yourself to them or to someone else. And then you try to do that. And that's not fun. God created you and you are his favorite. How do I know that? Because no one can love him like you do, because he created you for this loving relationship between you and him. So no one can love him like you can. And he doesn't love you like he does someone else, because you are that unique and that special. And so I just want to encourage people to really see why God created them, why he is so into who they are.
Yesterday things were different. Today they're different again. Jesus will never change. Jesus is always the same. The sparrow will find a new dwelling. to the changeless one, and I'm leaning on his breast. Yesterday things were different. Today they're different again. Jesus will never change. Jesus is always the same. The rivers will change its course, and all the mountains may crumble and fall, but time will leave its mark. Oh, they say upon us one and all. Yesterday things were different. Today they're different again. Jesus will never change. Jesus is always the
You know, after a couple of programs like this, there's so much that could be said, and of course, both I and Tanya Street had a difficulty knowing where to cut the interview off because there's so many important topics to deal with here. But hopefully, if you've heard both the episode before this and this one, or maybe you're just tuned in for this episode, hopefully you understood the overarching theme of this whole program, which is that Christ can redeem and reach down to whatever depth sin may have taken us. Sin can take us to places and depths that we never even dreamed ourselves that we could even imagine going. But sometimes we find ourselves in those places, and we want to be an encouragement to you that whether you're walking with the Lord currently or whether maybe you're away from the Lord, God can help you through the circumstances you're going through. And we also want to encourage that those of you who are maybe going through sexual abuse or have experienced sexual abuse or physical abuse, that there is healing and that there is hope. Until next week, from all of us here at Keepers of the Faith Ministry, we pray richest blessing upon you. We also want to take a moment to remind you that we are a listener-supported radio ministry and that any gifts or donations are greatly appreciated. And of course, a very big thank you to those who are already supporting us and helping make this program a reality. So until next week, from all of us at KOTF Radio, aloha and mahalo.